And Edmonds coming at you from the Vodcast with still yet no name. That has been a vigorous chat in our internal communications. My name is Logan Edmonds, as I said before. I'm with Tabernacle Technology Solutions. We are based in Columbus, Ohio.
And I am Niles Benghazer with TechStop, based out of Prescott, Arizona.
All right. Hey, Niles. How's that going?
Good. How about you?
Good. I mean, it's bright and early for you. You're in Arizona. So what is
Yeah.
it? 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock?
Yep.
I'm at 11. I'm like, coffee's hit. I'm mostly okay over here. But so if not, Niles makes a couple yawns on this, we're totally understandable.
Right.
All right. Tools. So many tools. I mean, SaaS is a thing now.
Yeah. There's a lot to choose from. Whether it's your productivity tools just to get your work done, or security tools to protect everything.
Office
There's a lot of
Google,
options out there.
Monday.com versus Jira. I mean, we can go through list after list. There's so many tools out there. It's in the tens of thousands, I think, at this point. And that's true for our industry, too. Security tools. There's a lot of security tools.
Yep.
So, I mean, why? Let's ask the basic question. I think a lot of business leaders and entrepreneurs ask us. I mean, if you started your own business or you lead a business, I would classify you as a pretty smart fellow. Like most of the time, you're a pretty smart fellow. You got the wherewithal to make calculated and good decisions. Obviously, you're still in business. What's the pitfall of just going out there and picking a tool that looks like it's got good reviews?
Well, this is what we do as cybersecurity professionals. Is we're looking at not just like one tool at a time. So let's take one. Everyone knows about firewalls, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's 100 different brands of firewalls.
Routers.
Right.
Go get my Netgear firewall from Walmart. Woo.
Right, exactly. And you look at the packaging, and the marketing people make it sound really good, and it's got this security feature and that security feature, and maybe you do your homework and you find like a really solid business firewall, but that doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, that's not really helping you. What we do as cybersecurity professionals is look at, okay, we're going to look at your firewall, but we're also looking at how does that interact with your EDR solution? How does that work with your SIM solution? How does that work with your productivity tools? And what is the bigger multi-layered picture? How well do these tools work together to provide security? And we're filtering through, with our several years of experience, we know kind of how to filter through the marketing words and jargon.
Great marketing. But man, I mean, there's some really cruddy products on the market that have amazing marketing teams. Yeah. Engineering is just not there. I mean, and so you touched on this, but I think too, intent. What are you trying to accomplish with the tool? Right? Like, how are you actually accomplishing what you are intending to do? I think most people would say my broad goal is I just want to make sure one aspect of cybersecurity, maybe they'll focus on one, or they'll focus on generics. I don't want to get hacked, or I don't want my employees to fall for a phishing email. And that's all they focus on. Which the problem in my mind with that is cybersecurity as a problem is such a multifaceted problem. It's got all these different avenues that you have to cover to have realistic coverage. So when people come to me and say, why can't I just pick, one good product? I had a former client that asked me this point blank, like, hey, I just need to go out there and buy this cybersecurity product. I think it was he wanted to look at something like CrowdStrike and something like that. And I'm like, well, what are you trying to accomplish? And when he explained what he was trying to accomplish, he was trying to provide all of his cybersecurity stuff, everything covered by that one single product. That doesn't work that way.
Unfortunately not. Yeah.
Yeah, by any specific vendor. Like they're great tools, and CrowdStrike, I never really used them, but I've only heard good things. But it doesn't work that way. Like there is the intent, and how are you trying to accomplish that intent, and how are you going about that? In his specific scenario, setting an automated tool that no one had to manage or do anything with, and just forgetting about it, that doesn't work. So, and we told him that, we took him a different direction.
Well, it's like having an alarm system. Your alarm goes off and no one's monitoring it. What good did it do?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I mean, we got to start here with this too. There is things you can automate 100%, and we do it all day long. Like, I'm not going to say don't do automation. Automation's amazing, but cybersecurity is an inherent problem of it's people trying to get into your stuff as another person. Automated tools only go so far when it's people on people action. You can You pit a real person with dynamic fluid and motivation to get past an automated tool, 9 times out of 10, they're going to figure it out, because there is ways that we all know, we've all done it, where you play video games. I've done this all the time. I've done weird little hacks and cheats, like, for modding or whatever in video games, like when I was a kid. Like, yeah, I can do whatever I want with the game. Like, and that's like the intuition of a human being versus an automated tool. At the end of the day, you got to have another person there. And two, different tools do different things. And you touched on that. You want to kind of elaborate. You threw a lot of terms around EDR. Let's start there. What's the purpose of an EDR?
Yeah. So, and real quick, I just wanted to touch on like something you said, how one tool doesn't do it all. I think we would love a one tool that did do it all, but these software developers kind of focus in on what they're good at.
We've been trying this for 14 years. It's been 14 years. Yeah. Like around 2008, 2007, people just started saying, I'm going to do everything in one package. It just doesn't work that way. Like that's what we've learned in the last 14, 15 years. Yeah.
But so like EDR, these are terms, if you've been researching your cybersecurity, you're going to probably have run into these, or when you're filling out your cyber insurance policy application. So like EDR, that's going to be your endpoint detection and response. And again, unfortunately, in the industry, there's no strict definition of what EDR is, which makes it so difficult, especially the way insurance poses it. Oh, do you use EDR? And they'll be happy as long as that tag is on the product. But that doesn't mean they're all created equal. We've seen
until they have to actually audit your stuff, they're happy. Let's put it that way.
Well, right, yeah. We've seen vastly different capabilities across different products that claim to be EDRs. At the core, what it does seem to mean, and I think the vendors all agree on this, is that there are it's like antivirus plus more, where it analyzes things that may not necessarily be malicious, but it's looking at activity that is suspicious. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'd say a fundamental component of EDR versus antivirus is central management. Like that's one of the biggest things. Like you didn't really manage your antivirus from 10 years ago. You just installed it and forgot about it. It's not an EDR unless you have a way of someone centrally managing it and controlling it and seeing everything from it. Like that's a key component of an EDR.
Yeah. Well, and actually right there, that's evidence that there's no strict definition, because even between professionals, we have slightly different understandings.
Yeah. So you're going to go in and say, okay, I need an EDR. What are you trying to accomplish with that EDR? And as a professional, my mind's going to, well, for the protection aspect of the specific computer, that is a component of what is needed to accomplish that specific goal. But if you're coming from the mindset from an entrepreneurial standpoint and saying, I want the EDR to protect me from everything, that's not how an EDR works. I mean, the cloud exists. EDR doesn't, most EDRs, there's probably one out there that does some cloud components somewhere, but most EDRs don't cover, for example, monitoring your logins for your cloud accounts. Someone could be hammering all day long, trying passwords that you were hacked from third-party services that you had no idea about to log into your Gmail or to your Outlook. And EDR is not going to help you there.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, and not to beat a dead horse, but it's layers. You gotta have layers, and you gotta understand how your layers work together.
It's planned. It's like building a building. It really is, right? Like there's different components of building a building. There's the foundation, there's the outer exterior, there's the interior, there's load-bearing walls and trusses that hold up the floors from the load-bearing walls, and all these components. And there's when you hire, if you ever had a place built, it's not one guy usually, except for the one guy who wants to build it himself as a hobbyist. There's that guy. There's always that guy. My dad is that guy. Right. But most crews come out with multiple people who specialize in multiple things.
And you have your various contractors. Then you have your general contractor, which would be likened to your IT provider.
And even the design side of things, most times you have an architect involved in some form to do the initial design. You've got engineers to make sure the actual loads that are being bared on all the aspects are being measured and taken account for. And I mean, cybersecurity is like a building. It's the digital equivalent of a building. You can't weather the storm with just a good exterior wall. You need a roof.
Right.
So you got to have both.
Exactly.
And so our pitfall that we see a lot of, and I see it all the time. I get it. This is a huge issue, and we want technology to take away this issue from us, right? Like we want to automate it out of existence, but that's just not how it works. And the industry, the White House, everyone in between, their mom, their uncle, anyone who's considered even a semblance of an expert on this matter has agreed to that. Like saying, look, you can't just buy a tool and it's done. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So what do we do different? Like sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was getting to. It's and it's a common theme. We're going to tell you this a lot, but it's talk to your IT provider because, you especially before you purchase, you don't want to get yourself in some contract with a particular vendor and then find out it's not actually doing what you need. Consult with your IT provider to be like, okay, this is my big goal. Start out with an assessment. Ask them to run a full assessment on everything you're currently doing. Find out, okay, this is where you're at. Here's my baseline. Here's how secure we are today, but we want to get to, this point that's, better security. How do we get there? And work with your IT provider as a trusted advisor. Don't just talk to your IT provider, once a month when something breaks. Have them part of helping develop your business. Because if you do that, they're going to help you meet your business goals. They're going to help you, stay safe while doing it, while you grow, while you have more and more data that you're handling, while you're making more and more money. If you wait till the last minute to bring your IT provider in, it's a lot more difficult and it's risky, if you're not being secure along the way.
I would say to most business owners, it's the digital equivalent of choosing whether or not, if you're going to build a new office, are you going to do it yourself or are you going to hire a contractor? You can't absolutely probably there's that entrepreneur who can do it themselves. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there exists. But most of you are going to pick hiring a contractor to do it professionally because if anything goes wrong, that's a big deal. That's a huge expenditure to you. Well, most businesses now, we're building on digital infrastructure. We're building in the cloud where people are working from home on their own internet connections. We're building on various tools. I think I read somewhere, and I think this is true for my organization especially, the average company now uses 12 different cloud products. Like that's what we're going to, like these 12 separate different cloud product subscriptions for their staff to do their work. It's great. Technology is an amazing thing. But just like a building or an office, if it's not built correctly, if it's not built with a good foundation and good structure, the cost of when it comes crumbling down can really kick you in the butt. Unfortunately, I always like to talk about being proactive. It was the happy talk in my mind, but we do have to deal with in our line of work the reactive. I built an office with a shoddy foundation and the whole thing came down on the slightest pressure, and now I got to pay the damages. What do I do? Like that we've seen the digital equivalent of that happen. I mean, I just had a case recently where that happened. So it's a cost analysis. It's a risk to cost analysis that every business owner needs to take. We're, I would say, proponents of the idea that it's like we believe a professional is needed at this point because the cost of making the wrong decision or setting something in properly can very much outweigh and does outweigh the cost of involving a professional to help you set it up right from the get-go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, part of what we both do is when we do an analysis, we're looking at, okay, what is your potential financial risk? I don't know about you, Logan, but even for small, like 5-person companies, I think the smallest dollar risk I've seen is $200,000. Like that's your potential risk if you're attacked and your business goes down. That's like the minimum you'd be paying out of pocket.
I mean, yeah, I would say, well, that's because that's what the bare minimum the criminals want high 5 figures from their effort, and they can get it. Like I know a lot of you, so if you're a small business of 2 or 3 people, are going to go, I'm not worth that much money. You have way more value than you think you do. And that's why these tools are marketed to you, because there are 2 people who know that: the cyber criminals and the security industry that sells the tools. So, if you're talking about that, a great example of this would be, business have main primary checking accounts. I mean, that's you have to have it to have a business. Well, you know how you manage that checking account nowadays? Electronically. You manage everything electronically. I do not handle the cash in my electronic business checking account. I manage it from my mobile app or my web browser or wherever else I might be over the phone.
Yep.
So that opens up an opportunity, someone can get in there. Someone can take money from your business account. How do you stop that? Well, there are tools and techniques and strategies that can be done, but they have to be done in advance, because at the end of the day, every business has a checking account, which makes it more than worth the cyber criminals' time to target you.
Yep. And so, so I think that's maybe the biggest thing that we would urge you to do is, if you want to be more secure, don't just go out there and buy a tool.
Yeah.
Talk to a professional. Take your time to choose the right tool and the right set of tools, so that you're working with a professional to help you with that, to manage those. Because frankly, you're wasting your money otherwise. If I have an EDR, I'm good, and I'm not looking at it, that's money down the drain, essentially. Yeah.
Cyber is, we can pivot on this for a second, if you don't mind, because cybersecurity is a weird investment, right? If it's doing everything it's supposed to do, you bought the tools, you've got the service, whatever, nothing happens. That's the goal, right? Like, nothing happens.
Yeah, actually,
it's a weird investment. If it's doing it right, it's nothing happens, and that's the payout. Now, a lot of people struggle with that, but the alternative, and the reason we're saying, don't invest in the wrong tools, because if you do, not only do you take the loss of the financial fallout of whatever the cyber attack is, but you spent all this money on a tool that didn't actually do anything. So you're salting the wound at that point. And
that's the thing. You struck on it. Is if you go out, you buy the wrong tools, and you're not managing them the way you need to be, nothing's going to happen until it's too late. Like, you're not going to know that unless, again, without professional expertise to understand how all this works, there's no indication that it's not working. How would you know? Until it's too late.
What's the stats I've been sending people? I think they're actually on the shorter side. When they get into your stuff, they generally don't make a move for at least 4 months. They hang around for 4 months to figure out how they can make money off you. I dealt with a case recently. They hung around for, it looks like, about 2.5 months before they made a move. So that was absolutely on point. You want to know that if you're going to invest in something, you're going to get a return on it in some form. And the return in this case is, and it sounds counterintuitive, the return would be, and nothing's guaranteed in this world when it comes to cybersecurity. I'm going to preface that with that disclaimer, but the return would be nothing happens, or worst case scenario, something happens, but it's way less worse than it could have been if you hadn't proactively managed it.
Because not only are we trying to protect against a cyber attack, but things happen, even with protections. How deeply did they get into your systems? How much damage did they do? We're helping mitigate that.
I think we'll end with this. This is to give people a sense of scale. Like, this is not what we do, by the way. I'm not, at least I don't do, hands-on remediation on the, forensic level. And I don't believe you do either.
Oh yeah. No, I don't do
forensics. Those people, just to give you guys context of how much it costs, and you got to call those people, I think it's somewhere between $400 to $500 an hour is the going rate right now. Like that. That's,
if not more.
If not more. Like, it is a very specialized industry. And that's why one of the primary reasons, like we're talking about, like, when something happens, it gets really expensive. You got to pay someone who's way more specialized than even we are to come in and, do the cleanup.
Well, and I think so. Every state has different laws, but in Arizona, if you have a breach of data, not only do you have to notify clients and stuff, but you have to have that forensics analysis done too.
I don't think and it's like a disclaimer for both of us. We're not attorneys, so let's start there.
No legal advice.
No legal. This is just our experience as cybersecurity professionals, but do not take this as legal advice or any kind of a legal advisement. Go talk to your attorney for clarification. Yada yada yada. But in Ohio, it's very similar in that it's sort of a soft requirement, because if you've been breached, you are required to notify anybody who's been affected. How do you know who's been affected? You got to get someone to tell you those numbers, and Ohio does pursue those cases. That's one of the reasons why if you file an insurance claim in Ohio, and I have experience with this, they make you get a forensics team as part of the process, because they have to legally cover their butts too, the insurance companies. So, all right, this topic took a little bit of a tangent, but it's all tied together. Let's go back and we'll sum up kind of what we're talking about. Cybersecurity tools. Really cool innovations happening on the engineering side of things. We see them all day long, but you have to know what you're trying to accomplish, and you have to make sure the tool works towards the goal of what you're trying to accomplish in conjunction with whatever else you have already pre-existing. And the biggest pitfall to that, doing it yourself, is there's so many different aspects to this that you can miss. So we do recommend, and I know we're biased, but we recommend letting a professional handle this at that point because the stakes are high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't throw your money away. Do it the right way.
That should be our slogan for this show. I like it. It even rhyme. Don't throw your money away. Do it the right way. I'm like, yeah, new slogan. Guys, this is the Vodcast with no name. I really don't want that branding to stick, so we got to figure out this name now. I'm Logan Edmonds with Tabernacle Technology Solutions. We are located in Columbus, Ohio.
And I was Ben Hauser with Tech Stop in Prescott, Arizona.
Thank you guys so much for taking a minute to watch, and have a great rest of your week.